Okay. Hi, guys. So my name is Afshan, and this is Zainab. So what we're doing today is we're doing a video basically on freelance marketing. I recently got into freelance marketing full time, I guess, and Zainab has kind of been in it for a while, which you'll go into, but she helped me a lot as a mentor when I was kind of getting into this sphere and figuring it all out. And I think it's really important for us to share a little bit about what we've learned with all of you, because there's not that many resources out there, especially in the South Asian Muslim community. So we really want to help out.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Zainab,
should we start off with, I guess, how we started? I think that's the most frequent question, how we got to where we are. So a little backstory with me. I have about 5 years plus experience in the marketing space, working both with startups and advertising agencies. So I've worked with quite a range of brands in both FMCG industry sectors, fintech, healthcare, technology, charity brands, just kind of a whole range. So I've been working for the last 5 years, and for the last 3 of those, I've been freelance, working as a marketing consultant, going into agencies and startups and supporting their kind of digital marketing strategy and bringing any creative ideas to life.
Perfect. Okay, so for me, I recently graduated from university, so I've definitely been this for a lot less time. I did a few internships in marketing, in the marketing sphere, and then I had my first freelance client in 2017, and then I graduated from school this past May, and then I had a full-time job in skincare at a startup, where I was doing all things marketing. And then just a few months later, I kind of spun off to do freelance full time. And I guess I think my background mostly comes from building my own brand.
Okay, so the first question I think we should dive into is, what exactly is freelance marketing? So I'll give a quick summary. Freelance marketing is basically an expert who has a lot of domains within the digital marketing space. So they have skill set in either or all of these: content, SEO, paid media, creative strategy, brand strategy, basically a lot of different things. We freelance marketers go into brands and go into companies and support their digital marketing initiative or help them set one up depending on what level they're at. And I personally work on more of the social media related stuff, but I've done a little mix of everything in my 3 years of freelance marketing.
Perfect. And I think the only difference with freelance is that basically you work for yourself and you're just contracted by companies. So it allows for a lot of flexibility. Okay, how do you become qualified or learn without formal education? So you can take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little background on me. I studied anthropology and archaeology at university. I never really planned to go into marketing. I graduated, about 6 years ago now. I didn't really know what I was going to do graduating from that degree, specifically in the South Asian community. I struggled quite a bit with how to get into marketing initially. I worked in a lot of different startups doing internships to kind of get my grounding and figure out what the different, disciplines there are. So I worked in operations, customer experience, marketing, and then under that community, digital marketing, social media, whole range. And this experience helped me to find and learn what I was doing. So over the last few years, I've done numerous things to just kind of learn more about the industry and learn more about my skill set or the expertise I wanted to gain. So that was through experience, as mentioned previously. I've also been lucky enough to just have a lot of great mentors and people around me that I can look up to. Beyond that, I also use, of course, social media to follow thought leaders and follow experts in the topic. So I'm keeping up to date with what's going on, keeping up to date on other platforms like say through podcasts or websites like Campaign Magazine, Adweek. All of these ways have allowed me to kind of learn more about the industry, but also use of all the all the free resources online, like General Assembly or Skillshare, and just going to workshops and live events. All of these things have kind of come together to basically help me establish myself as a marketeer.
Yeah, and I think the really good thing about marketing is that you really don't need a formal education in it. it can be something that you're naturally good at and you improve on your own. There's so many resources online that you can use.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone can get into marketing these days. It's an important discipline, and there's lots of ways to learn about it. And doing is one of the things I'm the biggest advocate of, to learn about these things. So one of the questions is, do you choose your niche and then start freelancing? How did you go about what you are doing right now, Afshan?
So like I said, I had started my own kind of brand. I did that in 2017. Mine was focusing on like South Asian culture and fashion, and kind of bridging the South Asian diaspora with with the region of South Asia. And so that kind of happened to be my niche, Instagram, social media. But then honestly, from there, I've been growing. I think like, yeah, I guess in terms of like my skill set, I've definitely grown in that respect. Have a lot more practice doing graphic design and stuff now. Not that I'm good at it, it's really all Canva. And then yeah, but I think yeah, you also have an interesting story about like your niche.
Yeah, so I started off in operations initially, and when I decided to transition over to marketing, before becoming freelance, I focused on community and social media and establishing my expertise and my experience in that. Since I've been freelance, my realm has been just social media marketing, predominantly. I've done a little bit of email. I do paid as well. But over the last 3 years, I've kind of learned about every little discipline. But yeah, if you're going to be freelance, yeah, you definitely want to focus on a niche. So you're an expert at the end of the day. If you're a freelancer or you're a contractor or consultant, you're going in as an expert in that domain, and it's really important that you know what you're talking about and know that you're confident in that skill set. So our experiences have lended to us being able to choose digital marketing as our domain when we became freelance in the last few years for both of us.
Definitely.
Cool.
Okay, so how do you manage building your own brand alongside your work?
That's one's for you, since you have a brand.
I think what I've done to help that is I try to block off Saturdays and Sundays, like a good chunk of time on those days to kind of dedicate to my own brand. I usually shoot on those days, work with my photographers, whatever that might be. And then like stuff like this that we're doing now, this is technically building my brand as well. So this is obviously a Saturday, Sunday thing. I think just building out that time, carving out that time is super, super important. And
Yeah,
not letting it
definitely. I've been muting myself, so you don't hear any ruffling around here. But no, it's really important. I mean, I haven't really built a brand per se, but I've created side hustles or created projects, and that always just had to fit in around my 9 to 5 or the job that pays at the end of the day. So you just have to find blocks of time, either in the evening or weekend. And if you're passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work, it's worth it. So, as a recent graduate, what are some of your tips for the recent marketing graduates?
Okay, so first of all, I really empathize with all of you. I know it's super, super hard, especially right now. I could not even imagine. But okay, so firstly, there are things you can do even if you're not finding that job. So first thing is you can build your portfolio. And me and Zainab were discussing this yesterday, but you can build a portfolio out of nothing. Fine, you've never been hired for anything. It doesn't really matter. If you think that you could come up with a really cool rebrand for a certain company or brand that you love, whether that's redoing the logo or redoing the way that social looks or their slogan or literally whatever that is, you can redo that and do like a mock-up and then put that in your portfolio and be like, a mock-up I did for this company. No, it didn't get picked up, but whatever. And that's just a great way that people can see your sense of like aesthetic, and that's, you don't have to have previous work for that, because I think a lot of people struggle with having nothing to show, but there's always something you can extract. And then a very similar thing is building your own page and building your own brand. if people come to your social and see that, you really know how to play with color, or you have a good sense of design, or whatever that might be, you can use that as your portfolio. So you really have to be creative sometimes with that. And then second thing, reach out to people in the space and see if they're looking for interns. So especially at a time like this, I mean, you can reach out to freelancers and see if you can help them, shadow under them, anything that they might be able to offer you, just try to get that out of them. I think there are many people out there that would be willing to do that. I feel like I do like 2-3 coffee chats a week with people who are looking just for advice and tips. And then, and I think same with Zainab. And then third thing is just building your online credibility and beefing up your LinkedIn. So making sure to put up like anything remotely creative, whether it's from your marketing class in college or anything like that, and then putting in those keywords in your LinkedIn to get picked up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just caveat that this is not just necessarily tips for marketers. It's whether you're a videographer, a photographer, a graphic designer, anything in the creative space. If you don't have or haven't had experience with a brand or a company yet, create that like idea for yourself, create that challenge for yourself. And that gives you something to play around with and something to create your portfolio on. Okay, cool. So there's a question on how do we create social media strategies for brands? That's quite a big one, so I'm going to just tackle it in a few main steps. Assuming that you have a little bit of a branding and a bit of an idea of what your visuals look like, you want to decide what the goal and objective is for your brand, knowing what you're trying to achieve through whatever you put out on the digital marketing platforms that you end up utilizing. Dive into your audience. So set up an audience and decide, who are you targeting? You're not going to target the whole entire world or the whole country wherever you're based, but you want to figure out what, where the age is, where they live, what kind of job they might have, what are their likes and dislikes, where are they hanging out? And these little details really help you formulate an identity for the people that you're reaching out to. And then using that, you can also go into competitor analysis. So look at your other brands that are, in your eyes, competitors or brands that you inspire to be like, and figure out what they're doing, what's good about their efforts, what's bad about their efforts, and use that for some inspiration. And then go into the brand's efforts so far. So what have you guys done on all the platforms that you're utilizing? What's been good about it? What's been bad about it? What are some really big lessons? And apply that to the strategy. And then once you have all of that, you can start establishing your creative pillars, your tone of voice, your creative identity, and you can then establish, what is your output going to be like? What are the creative ideas that you're creating, producing? What channels are you going out on? What is your copy like? When are you posting? All these little details then start to fall together. And once you have your calendar, just always make sure to test and track everything you're doing so you can implement changes and always improve and always just do better and learn from things. It's not always going to be right from the beginning. It's going to take some time to kind of get the gist of things. One of the questions, and part of this was if we have any templates. I've shared templates with Afshan before. I have a few. They are more brand focused, so I can't really share them because of NDAs, but what I'll try and do is create a template resource and try and share that somewhere on my website in coming weeks.
So the next question for Zainab is, how do you find freelance gigs and what platforms are there?
Okay, so I fell into freelancing 3 years ago. I have to caveat that because it was not intentional for me to start finding freelance projects. The reason I fell into it is because of somebody in my network who at the time was looking for someone on a project. I wasn't working. It worked out for the better, and I realized that freelancing just was a better balance of lifestyle, and I prefer that. So a lot of my projects have come through my network, but my network has been established over years of fostering relationships through previous jobs and events and things like that. So networking is a really key aspect of kind of building your freelancing. So, stay in touch with anyone you've worked with in the past, stay in touch with people that, you've interacted with at events, and reach out to them when you go freelance and tell them, hey, I'm freelancing at the moment. Do you guys need anything, or do you need any support? So that's one of the main things. Network is really key. I also, in the UK, there's a number of recruitment agencies, especially in the digital marketing space, who also help you find freelance roles. So I've signed up to a lot of them. I keep in touch with everybody to just make sure and see if there's any projects in there on their rota right now. And then there's plenty of platforms to utilize. So you have your LinkedIn, you have the dots, you have working, not working. We'll create a little resource list and share that in the comments or something. But all of these platforms, make sure you're up to date on all of them. You're sharing your portfolio, your profiles up to date, and you're engaging and using the platform. It just makes you more discoverable. And if someone is looking for a freelancer, they can go onto this platform and find you because you've used the right keywords or because your profile is up to date and they know who you are and what you do and what your expertise is. And then there's lots of freelancing communities that we'll also list out in the resource list, but things like in the UK specifically, Juno. You guys probably know about Freelancer and Fiverr.com. I have never used them, so I'm not going to advocate for them necessarily. They're a bit more mass market, but they are tools for you to like start testing out freelancing if you're very much new to it. For Afshan, since I guess you're reaching out to clients more right now, how's that worked out for you so far?
I think I did it a little bit more previously, but like when I had this one client who was a dentist, and I knew that I wanted to kind of gain more traction, I think the best way to go about it is use what you have in your portfolio as like your skill set. So my first client was a dentist, and what I would do was I would reach out to other people in the dental space, but then also the general healthcare space, because you can kind of like generalize it. And I would just say like, hey, I've worked with this dentist before. I see that like you're trying to grow your social media page. These are the kinds of services I offer. And you have to make sure to outline those things because people in these fields don't understand like, what do you mean social media
educate
strategy?
Your client, like educate them, tell them what you can do,
show
what you're bringing to the table. Definitely.
Exactly. Like show them what you're going to bring to them. And I think another really important way to do that is pitch first a free initial consult, so that you can show them what you have to offer, have some ideas planned out, and then I think from there it can usually go in the right direction.
What are your tips for how you stay organized and structure your days as a freelancer? Do you want to go first?
Okay. So I think basically every phone call you have with your client, make sure you're staying on top of everything that they're asking you to do. I think an important thing that I do with my clients is when they have revisions to assets, they'll send it through email form, which I love because it's all tracked that way. And then I'll respond back when I fix the asset, and like their text is in black, I'll respond in red to each thing that they wanted me to fix. I think it's because my client's like a lawyer, so he's really good at this. And now I'm going to make all of my clients do this, but I get to say like, okay, I moved that icon here. What do you think of this? And then I can also be like, I don't really like this that much. What do you think? If you're not okay with it, I want to switch it back. So you can kind of go step by step. So noting down revisions, and then I have like a long-term to-do sheet and then a short-term to-do sheet to just keep things prioritized for my clients, and then just like general strategy and stuff like that. And then just taking calls at a certain time in your day, and then doing your work at another point in your day, depending on who you are, how productive you are at certain times. Because I think if you're trying to get something done and then it keeps getting broken up by calls, you're gonna get
You're going to get disrupted. So time blocking, I mean, I'm going to reiterate that. Time blocking is really key for figuring out what your day looks like, how you're going to fit in everything. This comes back to like your side hustles and brand building. If you have blocked time for client work, then you can fit in the learning, the side hustles and things like that. So time blocking is my number one thing. Other things that I really do, so for my day-to-day task management, I do bullet journaling. I don't know if anyone knows about bullet journaling, but it's a really like easy way to keep notes. I have a notebook that I look at every single day, and I track exactly what I've done the previous day, what I need to do today. So that's really like the everyday tasks. But I have multiple tools that I use, but my main one is Trello, and that's a tool that I've been using for quite a while to just manage the different projects that I have on the table, whether it's for different clients or whether I'm managing contractors for clients. So Trello helps me keep organized with what my priorities are any given week or month. Okay, so what do you include in contracts? And well, there's three parts to this question. So part A, what do you include in contracts, which I'll let Afshan tackle in a second. Do you have a time frame or leave it open? I'll take that one. And do you get an LLC? Do you want to start
Okay.
off?
Yeah. So contracts, make sure you include obviously the deliverables that you're going to be delivering. So that means like, okay, if a client is asking for sometimes clients don't know what they want, so you have to outline it. So if a client is asking for like marketing materials for their startup, so you're going to say like, okay, I'm going to make you an email marketing thing, I'm going to make you a flyer, etc., etc. And then scope of work, basically pretty similar, what you're going to be doing. Third, deadlines. So even if the contract seems to be like unlimited, like if they're like, oh, I kind of want to take you on for like ever, make sure that in your contract you have points that break up in the
like checking
case
points.
that yeah, in the case that you maybe don't get along with your client that well, if you want to renegotiate your rate, if you feel like you're doing way too much work and you want to take on other projects, make sure you make those points in your schedule to have those discussions. So be like, okay, for the next 3 months you're going to pay me like X amount per hour, and then we're going to renegotiate, right? And then you take so do you have a time frame or leave it open?
So when it comes to, actually I'm going to add to the contract part is you don't need a lawyer, just want to caveat, to like put down a formal contract. There's so many templates online. You can set out your own terms and it can be as simple or as detailed as you want. I personally have like a contract that like a lawyer has drawn up, not personally for me, I'm not that important, but I bought it off somebody, and that means I have like a really detailed contract. So if you can find a resource like that, that's really key. But in terms of establishing a time frame, I wouldn't necessarily leave it open. If you're on an ongoing contract where you're working for a client 2 days a week for ongoing X amount of months, that's a different story. But if that's not been defined, I would say you want to have a bit of a deadline. So one, you're held accountable and you know that you have to deliver something by X date. You're communicating to your client at the end of the day like what your delivery plan is, so they can expect the best from you. And two, it helps you balance your time, so you're not trying to get everything done really quickly, and then or leaving it to last minute, which is what I used to do with every essay at university ever. But it's really important to have a bit of a time frame for your own like sanity of organization, and it's just very professional as well. Right. So kind of coming on to a similar topic, fees. How do you decide your pricing hourly versus packages? So for me in the UK, we have a lot of industry research or reports that get released, surveys that get released to tell you what other people are charging or what range other people in your kind of level or your domain are charging. And I've used that over the last couple of years to decide my pricing. We do it on a daily rate, mainly because I tend to have projects where I work on an ongoing basis, 1 to 2, 3 days a week for X amount of months. So I charge on a daily rate basis. I know you do more hourly and packages if you want to dive into that.
Yeah, so I typically divide up my stuff by hours and packages. So if a client wants something like a brand book or like a strategy written out but not carried out, then I might charge that on a package basis. And then if it's something more like weekly consulting calls or I don't know, stuff that I can't really gauge how many hours I'm doing, I'll just say it's hourly, because that way you're just, not being undercharged or not being overcharged or whatever that might mean. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so how do you make a portfolio and what do you need and where do you create one?
Okay, I'll dive in first. So I have portfolios in multiple different ways because I think sometimes you need a CV, sometimes people want a deck, a presentation, or you have your website or LinkedIn. So across all of those outputs, whether it's a website or a LinkedIn or a keynote, you have to make sure that you are telling your story, who you are, what you've done, what you're doing, what projects have you done to showcase your achievements. Essentially, there's no reason you can't chat about yourself. It's really important. This is your opportunity to chat about every single thing that you've done. I include everything from side hustles to just internships from 5 years ago to my current projects. Include all of your brand logos, especially on a website and a presentation. Show off the brands that you have had the opportunity to work with. That's going to really kind of catch their eye. And where possible, just including visuals. So a lot of my projects are photography or videography based. So I include that on my website so people can see exactly what I've produced or what I've brought to life. And then the last and final thing, especially from a marketing perspective, is show stats, show your numbers, tell them how many people have you reached from a particular campaign, whether it was a paid campaign or an organic campaign. What was your result? Like, how many likes are you getting? Every stat that you can gather about a campaign or piece of a project, it's really important to share that so people know that you can deliver.
Yeah. And then I guess, how do you get into it? How do you start your portfolio? I think
This is a
Canva
really
is a
great
really
example, I was going to say, actually, because life for living is your portfolio, essentially.
Yeah.
So go on, I'll let you talk about that.
No, yeah, I mean, that is definitely a huge piece of my portfolio that I would include anywhere. And then other places to actually make portfolios, Canva, and then there's so many websites that help you generate really nice portfolios where you can just send the link to people, and it's also just there on the internet, like Working Not Working, even like Upwork and Fiverr and those things. You have these virtual
you want to make sure you're
portfolios.
utilizing all of the websites, because if people look for you on Upwork, you want to be there. If people look
LinkedIn.
for you, LinkedIn, all of the channels that are available, use them.
Media, whatever.
Okay, I think we've managed that.
Yay!
1 hour 22, 30 minutes, or 20 minutes.
Okay, just on an ending note, if you guys have any questions, me and Zainab are here to talk and chat. I think we're pretty open. We're going to attach some resources here somehow. Stay tuned for that so that you guys can see all of the places that we've listed, and we're going to link them all. I'll put our emails, contact information.
Yeah, don't be scared to get in touch. I'm super open. I know Afshan is as well, to emails and DMs. If you have questions, if you're new to the space, if you're just looking for tips or advice on any other things that we talked about, please, if we can help and support anybody, that would be a pleasure. So please do get in touch.
Exactly. Okay.
Amazing. Thanks. Bye, everyone.